Hello friends, it's time for another Q&A video. These questions were asked by my lovely patrons over on Patreon. Thank you so much for your support. Though I have seen these questions, I've not sort of sat down and thought about any sort of organized answer for any of them, so this will be probably batshit insane and completely off the cuff, just like the last one was. So let's just jump right in. What was it like the first time you did tactical training? Oh man, the first time I took any sort of class, it was humbling. That's the right word for it. I realized that though I had a lot of trigger time in the woods, just dicking around, shooting cans or whatever else, I realized that I knew nothing. I sucked. I had terrible trigger control. I was bad at everything. It was completely humbling. And I benefited so much from having that experience that I kind of actively seek that out now. There's always someone who's faster. There's always someone who's more accurate. There's always someone who can do a reload faster than me. Though I've been shooting for a long time, I still really suck. And now whenever I see somebody doing something that impresses me at the range or wherever, I say, hey, show me what you're doing. I've got to try that. Is I think that when you have that moment where you realize, wow, I'm really bad at whatever, you can kind of take one of two routes. You can either say, my pride is injured, fuck you, I hate you, I'm going to double down on the way I'm doing it and never get any better because I've got it all figured out. Or you can say, all right, I'm gonna shake things up. I'm gonna try what you're doing. I'm going to accept the fact that you are better than me and that I suck and that I have a lot to learn. And then you can learn whatever that other person is doing and hopefully better yourself. It doesn't just go for shooting; it goes for anything in life. Though I'm not saying that I don't have to fight my pride. Everybody has to fight their pride, but it is beneficial, I think, to look at someone else and say, I'm going to try it the way you're doing it. And my first tactical training experience was one of the first moments in life where, I thought that I was really good at something and I realized not only am I not good at it, I fucking blow at it. And that was very important. And I play guitar for a living, and I've realized more than a few times at gigs and whatnot, I'll see somebody else and think, wow, I really suck. I thought I had this figured out, but not only do I not have it figured out, but I've probably got another 5 to 10 years before I can do what that guy's doing. So it's important to always consider, how am I approaching whatever it is? Next up, what's your favorite meal? Oh, that's tough. I eat a lot of seafood. I was born along the coast, and I would mostly just eat seafood if that was an option. Lately, I've been eating a lot of smoked salmon. I love smoked salmon. What's the first thing you would do if you won the lottery? Speaking of the coast, I would move back to Charleston. Charleston has gotten very expensive because rich folks from up north and from overseas realize that Charleston is an amazing place to live, and property values have skyrocketed, and a lot of the property in Charleston is no longer owned by local folks, and it's really depressing. It's horrible. That's my birthplace, my homeland, and I want to go home. So if I won the lottery, I would leave and move home, even though it's not particularly far, but that's what I would do. Are there any guns you regret buying? Yes. There are a lot of guns that I regret buying. The one, though, that immediately comes to mind is the Walther PPK 22. And I'm not talking about an older one. The older ones, the older 22s are great guns. They're really awesome. But the newer ones are made by Umarex, and they have Zamac slides, which is like a fucking pot metal. It's horrible. It was a terrible gun. It's one of the shittiest guns I've ever owned. It was just a colossal turd, and I knew it very shortly after I bought it. I took it to the range and I was thinking, this is not really a PPK. This is shaped like a PPK, but I don't really know what this is. It feels like a knockoff Chinese toy PPK. And considering that it's made of pot metal, that is, I guess, kind of what it is. I'm trying to think if there are any others that I outright regret. There have been a few that I was kind of unhappy with, though I've come to like this gun a lot more as time has passed. My CZ SP01 Tactical. It's not that it's a bad gun; it's an amazing gun. It's just that there are a lot of other really, really good double action, single action pistols out there. I kind of always thought, well, why the hell didn't I just buy another Beretta? But I really wanted to have that CZ75 experience. So it's not really the gun's fault. It's just that that's kind of a competitive price bracket for that sort of gun. Other than that, the PPK is one of the only things that I outright hated. I'm trying to think of any others. There have been a few shotguns and things where I knew immediately that I had just bought a terrible, terrible gun. I had a Glock in 40, and it was my only pistol for a really long time. And I bought it because it was really cheap, and it was the only pistol I could afford. And I realized why it was being sold so cheap, because it was a 40. So I sort of didn't realize that I was getting myself stuck with a cartridge that I just really didn't like. And I'm not a 40 hater. I would have much rather had a 9mm or a 45, and I definitely regretted making that purchase. I've also purchased some cheaper AR-15s that I didn't like so much, but it wasn't so much that they were bad guns. It was more just that I prefer certain things out of my AR-15s, and those cheaper ones were not able to give me that. And when I found Aero Precision, I realized that you could pay sort of a medium amount of money and get an incredibly high quality product, and that worked really well for me. When we think of it, I'm sure there are others. There have to be others. There's been a lot of nylon gear that I regretted, where I would buy stuff to try it, and I would realize, oh, this is really no good. That's happened with optics before too. Anytime I've bought a cheaper optic, I really, really deeply regretted it. For me, I've kind of learned that the best stuff is always going to be EOTech, Aimpoint, and Trijicon. There are always folks in the comments or at the gun store who will pop up and say, "Oh, I bought whatever optic, and it's the best optic, and it's a $50 optic." And I just think, I've tried those, and I can't help but think that you're just telling me that because you want to feel better about having bought this really shitty optic. What's the most useless talent you have? I have a lot of useless talents. Being a musician, I have a lot of useless talents. I can play a lot of really useless instruments. But no, probably my most useless talent is as a film school dropout. I've written a lot of movie scripts that obviously were not purchased, and I still kind of do that for fun every year, even though I'm not even trying to shop them or do anything like that. I just crank out a couple every year, and they're probably big old shit piles, kind of like that Walther PPK in 22. But I keep doing it. Oh, I know who asked this one. What's the capital of Thailand? Suat, you just wanted to hear me say Bangkok. Bangkok. There you go. What do you think of steel-cased ammo? It's fine. It's totally fine. I don't usually buy it myself, though, not because I'm afraid of it fucking up my gun or any of the other stuff that you hear people say, but really I'm not buying it because it's underpowered, and I found that if I shoot a lot of underpowered ammo for practice, when I shoot plus P stuff, I don't shoot it as well, and I have a harder time with my follow-up shots. So most of the practice ammo that I buy is inexpensive 124 grain European stuff that would be kind of in the plus P range if it were made here in the States. And I find that if I'm practicing with that most of the time, that when I shoot, like plus P HSTs or whatever, that I do a much better job. So I don't like to shoot underpowered ammo. I think that it can... Well, okay. I think that for me, it's less beneficial. For you, if you don't have that issue with your own training, that's awesome. But I certainly do. So I don't want to do that to myself. So I shoot the hottest stuff that I can find usually. What's your exercise plan? Ooh, no one should ask me that. I sit on the couch and I eat a lot of chips. No, I run every day, just about, and I lift a few times a week. I mean, that's really it. And I think just having kind of a moderate diet helps. and I'm not really in very good shape anymore. I had an injury to my left arm some years ago, and I had to seriously cut back on my lifting. I was an avid lifter in the years prior to that. So now I like Captain Kirk, I've let myself boldly go. But yeah, I think just for me personally, the thing that works the best is just moderate diet, frequent cardio, and good lifting every now and again. I enjoy lifting it more than anything else. I'm not so much doing that for any sort of benefit other than I just really, really, really like doing it, even though, like everything else athletic, I'm fucking awful at it. Are you excited about John Wick 3? Yes, I'm very excited about John Wick 3. I'm a big movie buff, as you can probably imagine, with the silly script writing and stuff. And John Wick, those movies are just very well constructed. And the next question is from the same person. What made you fall in love with John Wick? Well, John Wick does a lot of things that movies don't do anymore. It has great stunt work, for one thing, which makes sense as the director comes from the world of stunts. It's well written. The characters are sort of almost Shakespearean. They're kind of larger than life and ridiculous. And this is a movie that knows exactly what it is. And it's sort of tongue-in-cheek and funny without being ironic. I've really gotten sick of this sort of ironic flavor that's infiltrated any kind of sort of silly, fun movie. It really pisses me off. I've gotten very, very sick of that. Sorry about that. Had to take a break to drink some water. The next question is, who are your favorite gun tubers? Ooh, that's a good question. Well, I love Paul Harrell, for one thing. I'm a huge Paul Harrell fan. I love him to death. I love watching his videos. He's just a really, really fun guy to watch. So he's awesome. I would love to go shooting with Paul Harrell one day. That would be a ridiculously fun way to spend an afternoon. I also love the Military Arms Channel. Man, I've been watching the Military Arms Channel for such a long time. I love Tim's passion for gun rights. He's completely uncompromising. I feel like he genuinely has the best interest of shooters and the shooting sport at heart, and I love him for it. What else can I say? He's just great. And then Ian McCollum and Carl Casarda over at In Range TV. God, they're great at everything they do, and their historical vignettes are lovely. That's probably my favorite stuff that they do, and obviously their mud tests are legendary. But I think that some of the other stuff that they put out is even more groundbreaking and important, especially the vignettes. Also, Ian McCollum's channel, Forgotten Weapons. Huge fan, of course. Who the hell isn't? We all watch Forgotten Weapons, don't we? Great stuff. And then Sea and Arsenal. Right here in South Carolina. They make great stuff. Next question, where would you most like to visit and shoot guns? Anywhere. I like shooting guns anywhere. I don't discriminate. Anywhere you go in this country, I have not been shooting in other countries, but anywhere you go shooting in this country, you always meet cool people and make friends, and that's so fucking awesome. So I will shoot anywhere. What's the best vacation you've ever been on? Really, the time that I treasure the most is when I do get to go back to Charleston. That time really means a lot to me. So I don't know if those qualify, as vacations so much as it's just right down the road, some hour and 45 minutes away. But it always feels like a vacation all the same, and I really treasure my trips to Charleston. What's your Starbucks order? I'm a simple guy. I just like usually a cappuccino, just coffee and milk. That's enough for me. I'm in it for the caffeine, I guess. What's your favorite historical gun? Oh, that's a very, very good question. I'm going to do favorite historical pistol and rifle. And let's see, what do we mean by historical? I guess let's say we mean made before 1950. Let's say. Yeah, let's do that. So the Luger is definitely my favorite pistol made prior to 1950. I love the way they feel. I love the mechanism. I love the sort of hand-fitted nature of them. Beautiful, beautiful guns. I adore Lugers. As far as rifles go, if I'm being really honest, it's just the M1 Garand. Find me a more fun gun to shoot made prior to 1950. I fucking love Garands. I love them. Oh, and the next question. This person knows a bit about my collegiate background, I think. What is your favorite historical battle? Ooh, okay, let's do favorite historical campaign and favorite battle, because I kind of want to talk about the ancient world and something more modern as well. So my favorite historical battle would probably be Waterloo. I've read just about everything I can find on the subject. And the reason I like reading about Waterloo so much is because so much speculation has been done about what could have changed, what small decisions, what turn of events could have led to a victory for Napoleon. And in hindsight, it's sort of easy to imagine a path to victory for Napoleon in a way. But when you kind of look at the bigger picture, you realize that he was probably always going to lose that battle. It's just sort of the only way it could have been. And in recent years, a lot more has been written from the perspective of the coalition forces. For a long time, most of the stuff that I was finding was primarily written about Napoleon and his army, because that is sort of the more interesting story in many ways. You know, the fall of this great tactician and great leader. But there are so many incredibly fascinating stories on the other side. You should definitely do what you can to read about the coalition forces. And also, if you're looking for something a little bit more pop culture-y to enjoy, the TV series starring the British TV series starring Sean Bean, Sharp, about the British 95th Rifles is awesome. It's incredibly well done. The acting is superb. The writing is superb. It's an amazing show, and I highly recommend it. Now, let's go back to the ancient world. My favorite historical campaign is certainly Caesar's conquest of Gaul, or really Caesar's genocide of the Gallic people is probably more accurate. And the reason that I enjoy studying that campaign so much is because relative to other ancient battles, we know, or campaigns, I should say, we know an awful lot about what happened. But, there's a twist. A lot of it is coming from, the bulk of it is coming from Roman sources and Caesar himself. And that makes it a bit dubious. And it's incredibly fun to wade through that information and try and see how you can shift your perspective on what happened. So I love Caesar's campaign in Gaul. A terrifying genocide, though it certainly was. Next, who would win a fight, John Wick or Dirty Harry? That's a very good question. I think that John Wick would win because he has the benefits of modern shooting techniques, modern pistols, and he's just a speedier guy. He's insanely fast. Unrealistically so. Yeah, I think John Wick would take Dirty Harry. That's not to diminish how awesome of a character Dirty Harry is, though. Favorite on-screen gunfight. As much as I want to choose something from John Wick, I'm actually going to go with a video game here. And I'm going to go with a scene from Uncharted 4. And before you laugh, the Uncharted games, and really anything by Naughty Dog, they're so cinematic. Prior to sort of jumping into John Wick, Uncharted really has the best action of any action series that I can think of. It out-actions pretty much any action movie made in the last 20 years, and it's a fucking video game. Those games are incredibly well acted and incredibly well put together. They're really just movies that you can play, and I'm always incredibly impressed by what Naughty Dog puts out. So I would say the gunfight through the streets of Kings Bay in Madagascar. That's just a lovely part, and it's got this like car chase after it. It's amazing. It's really, really, really cool. That's one of the craziest things I've seen on a screen in a really long time. Next question is, what are your favorite animals? I love animals. I think a lot about animal rights, and I donate as much money as I can every year to conservation. So my perspective is kind of letting animals be free and wild. I don't need to be near them or touch them or befriend them or anything like that. I appreciate them for what they are. That said, though, I'm a huge proponent of hunting, which kind of throws some people off. But if it throws you off, you should kind of stop and think about it. Factory farming is fucking disgusting and horrifically cruel. Hunting is so much more humane. The animal runs free and lives its whole life outside, and then one day it just kind of gets shot and dies. That's a fucking way better life. If you ask me, I would much rather that existence than living in a horrifying factory farm. Anyway, getting off my soapbox there. My favorite animals. The Tasmanian devil, as you know, if you're one of the 4 people who have watched my channel before, I fucking love Tasmanian devils. I also love bats, both microbats and megabats. Microbats in North America are in trouble. White nose syndrome is decimating their numbers. It's really doing a number on their population. By the way, the word decimate is kind of hilarious. Speaking of the ancient world, you should look up its roots in the Roman army. We are tremendously misusing that word. It means to kill 1 in 10, but we don't use it that way. We act as though it means to kill all, so that's kind of funny. But anyway, so I love bats. I love Tasmanian devils. I love possums. Big possum fan. Love our local possums. Possums are delightful animals. They're really glorious. So yeah, Tasmanian devils, possums, bats. I kind of like the animals that nobody else likes, I think. Choose one desert island weapon. As much as I would like to choose something like my Beretta or a Microtech knife, to be practical, my 11.5-inch barreled AR-15 pistol is definitely the winner. That's one of the most practical guns I've ever had. It's really, really light, so I could carry it around on this desert island without much effort. I could hunt with it. I could defend myself with it. It's a great gun. Would you rather have the ability to fly or to become invisible? I would love to be able to fly because I love to travel, but let's face it, becoming invisible is just more fucking awesome. It just is. You know, maybe I'm a natural lurker, but I would really like to be able to become invisible. Ooh, what's your favorite fantasy or sci-fi franchise? Let's do both of those. Yeah, let's do both. What's your favorite fantasy franchise? Definitely Lord of the Rings. I read the books when I was very young, was very impressed by them. And then the movies, wow, I don't even know what else to say about them. From the quality of the script to the visual effects to the editing to the performances. It's what a fucking amazing movie trilogy. It really feels more like one movie than 3 separate ones, but amazingly well constructed. Great movies. And the other thing that has impressed me about Lord of the Rings is the way it has aged. It doesn't feel like a relic of the early 2000s like so many other things. It has really aged well and doesn't look nearly as old as it is. It looks like it came out yesterday when you go back and watch it. And for something that's so visual effects heavy, well, that's a difficult feat to pull off. Now, my favorite sci-fi franchise would definitely be the Alien film series. I saw Alien and Aliens when I was very young, and they left a profound and lasting impact on me. Sort of from the design. Initially, it was the design of the creature. You know, it's an incredibly cool and arresting design. This sort of bioweapon. But then I started thinking more about the themes of those movies as I got older, about artificial intelligence and the place of women in society, and how women's voices are often not heard. And then those movies began to mean a lot more to me, and they sort of showed this very, very bleak and nihilistic view of the future that as we move forward, I think that our future is going to look a lot less like Starfleet and a lot more like Alien. So, yeah, definitely Alien. And by the way, Prometheus was great, but Covenant was exceptionally good. Covenant is one of the best movies I've seen in the last 20 years, and it doesn't get any respect from critics or really fans of the series either. But Covenant is incredible. Now, I want to talk about Star Trek as well. A lot of you, 4 of you that actually watch this shit that I make probably thought I was going to say Star Trek. To me, Star Trek is something sort of different because it spans all of these decades, and you have all of these movies and all of these shows. Star Trek is just something a little bit different, and Star Trek is more like a philosophy than a franchise. So I would say that more than anything else that I've ever fallen in love with, Star Trek has probably impacted me the most in the way that I think. And last of all, this question is really funny. What is your biggest pet peeve? 2. One's kind of serious, and the other one is just for laughs. I really hate when people don't know how to argue. When people don't know how to argue a point. And I see this a lot with older males. They just say, nah, whatever shit I believe, that's just the way it is. That's the fucking truth. And if you don't believe what I believe, you're wrong and you're a dum-dum. If you don't know how to argue a point and you genuinely believe that, I feel really bad for you. You are a goddamn moron, and you should strongly reconsider the things that you do. It's the saddest thing when I encounter people that kind of think that way. I always wonder, like, God, what is your life like that you think you've got it all figured out and you refuse to intake new facts and new information? I really, truly, I pity you. You see a lot of these people in YouTube comments, but also just out in the world. They're out there telling you about shit all the time. But now from a kind of funny pet peeve, I really fucking hate when people talk to animals like they're babies. Like, do you think that the cat understands you better when you talk to it like that makes the cat understand you? So the cat, when you speak normal English, the cat can't understand you, but when you talk like a fucking moron, the cat can suddenly understand you. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You're definitely right, dum-dum. You've got it all nailed down. So don't talk to animals like they're fucking babies. It makes you look like an idiot, and the animal is no closer to understanding what the fuck you were saying than they were before that. Thank you so much for sitting through this disaster. I can't believe that I just talked for like half an hour, and you're a saint if you actually watch this. And you're also a saint if you support me on Patreon. You beautiful motherfuckers. I love you all. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you soon. Goodbye.